So recently it was reported that an elderly woman had died from hypothermia after being evicted from her senior living home. Now, this is the story of Karen Batts. Now, Karen Batts is a 52-year-old woman that had died in the Smart Park parking garage in Portland because she failed to pay her rent. Now, according to the police report, they were called to that place, that parking garage, after there were reports that there was a woman that was removing her clothes. Now, that's odd, right? You might be thinking, wait, if she's freezing, it's cold outside, why would she be doing that? Is there something wrong with her? Well, apparently nerve damage, and this is something that I didn't know, can cause people to feel very, very hot, almost like they're on fire, okay? And again, that's something that I had no idea because I've never froze to death. So the more you know. Now, this woman, Batts, had been living at the building for seniors and people with disabilities, managed by something called Cascade Management and Northwest Housing Alternatives. Now, it turns out that she was evicted back in October over delinquent rent of, get this, $338. So that's how much she had to pay. Now, this is for people who are disadvantaged, right? Now, she didn't pay the rent. They sued, and of course, when some people are sued and they don't show up to court, obviously the judgment is granted to the company, okay? Now, you might be asking, why didn't she show up? I mean, there are some places that will let you be able to negotiate and figure out how to pay your own way without maybe getting evicted, right? Or you can work some sort of deal out. Well, this is where it gets sadder. The executive director of one of the two companies which manages the building, Martha McLennan of Northwest Housing Alternatives, told a reporter for local KATU TV News that Batts had been a tenant since 2007 and had undergone a change as of late. Now, McLennan said that there was a variety of lease violations that were either damage of property or late payments, and also incidents against staff and other tenants. According to the Oregonian, Batts had long struggled to maintain a permanent residence, moved frequently, and had been also evicted from in 1996 from another affordable housing building. So here's what that sounds like to me. Now, again, some people might look at that and go, well, she's obviously got some major problems getting along with people and staying in the same place. But this tells me, no, mental illness. And think about it, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor. I'm not like Fox News' medical aid team or anything like that. But there are people out there with undiagnosed mental illness that have lots of trouble navigating life. Now, that includes things like paying bills, getting along with certain, people or people in general, not being able to hold down jobs and things like that. So, yes, there are people that have been through that have undiagnosed mental illness, whether it be depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, things like that, can cause major, major problems. Now, instead of having a system in place to, find this out, treat these people, take care of them, get them on some proper medication, what happens in America? Well, they end up getting kicked in the street, or they end up filling our prisons. Well, that's another problem. And in cases like this, some of them end up dying due to exposure in the cold winter. So it's very, very sad. It's actually incredibly heartbreaking because here we live in the richest country in the world, the richest society, but we choose not to take care of people what I think, suffer from obvious mental illness. So we don't have health care for everyone. And that's one of the major problems. I think that's one of the factors. And look, she was 52, right? She didn't have Medicare, right? You have to be 65 to get on Medicare. Well, maybe if she had access to some form of health care, well, you might think, well, what about Medicaid, right? Did she have Medicaid? Well, think about it. Again, if you're mentally ill and you're on your own, you don't have anyone to speak for you, you don't have a family member or a guardian that's able to take care of you, well, then how can you be expected to fill out your own paperwork and get qualified, go through screening, do all your income verification forms, and all that stuff that comes along with signing up for some of these programs? How can you do that if you have certain mental illnesses? Again, Some people have very, very difficult times doing normal things. So, again, instead of all that, we should all have health care. I mean, imagine a world if we all had health care. I mean, look, you don't even have to imagine it, right? There are places that actually do it. And in those places, guess what? Random people don't freeze to death in parking garages. People don't go bankrupt from having healthcare emergencies. Finland, Denmark, Sweden, those are some of the happiest countries in the world. And guess what? They actually have universal healthcare that is single payer. They have healthcare for everybody, and it gets paid for through their taxes. Oh my God, Jeff! No, they get paid. They get taxed more. Aren't you taking away their freedom? And I love this. I saw this argument earlier. I think it was Ben. No, it wasn't Ben Shapiro. I forget his name. Right? Charlie Kirk. There it is. He's like, I don't want the government to force me to have health care. Are you fucking serious? I would love the government to force me to have health care. I actually love having health care. Everybody wants health care. You would think. But in America, we don't, and we pay the price. Whether it be socially, through people, again, dying, freezing to death, because, for one, they can't afford their rent, they can't get mental health care that they need and things like that. But for two, we actually pay a lot more than every other country that has single-payer health care. We pay twice as much money in health insurance premiums per capita than the UK. This is an insane system that we have. And that's, of course, why so many people aren't able to get the mental health care that they need. And yes, I am convinced that this is a mental health care issue, just from what it seems. And I know I'm taking a big leap when I say that. But here's another thing, right? You're going to kick people out for $300? People with nowhere else to go? Again, we don't care about fellow human beings anymore. All we care about is, as a society, is money, is wealth. But again, there are places that actually do care about their people. And it's not a fantasy to think that there is a place where 52-year-old women with mental illness or possible mental illness don't have to die alone in the street. And maybe we could actually bring that here. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.